One of the best updates you can give to a buyer or a seller is no update at all. Like, hey, I'm just checking in. Just want to let you know I still haven't heard back. This is neither good nor bad news, but I'll be in touch later at this time with another update for you.
Yo!
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. My name is Matt, that is Shawn, and welcome to our show. Shawn, in today's video, we're going to be talking about condo fee delinquencies. We're going to be talking about a new twist to home selling where the listing agent actually bids on getting the listing and paying cash to getting the listing. And we're going to be talking about the biggest 3 complaints that people have against real estate agents. Last week, you are bringing home a new baby. This week, it is your birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Next week, what are you going to win the lottery? What's
that would be
Shawn's
amazing.
Big event next week?
Lottery winner, hopefully next Thursday. Lottery winner may, won $50 million.
Do you have like an anniversary? Do you have a child's birthday? What?
No,
anything
nothing.
big?
I think that next week will just be awesome weather, playing outside, that kind of thing. But yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Happy birthday.
Old man
to
winter
Shawn.
right here. Old man spring.
So let's get into the first topic. We don't have an article for it. We have something better, and that is real life experience with dealing with condo fee delinquencies. And we're going to tell you why that's important, even if you don't have a condo. So Shawn, you were actually the one that brought this up to me and told me about your deal that was pending. So why don't you give a broad overview of what's happening and the possible ramifications on that?
Right. So yesterday I got an email from the buyer's agent, and it said, I'm really sorry. We're really bummed about this, but we can't get lending in the building. And I said, honestly, as a listing agent, that's like the worst email you can get when you're really close to settlement and you can't get lending, or the buyer can't get lending. But this was because they couldn't lend in the building. And I said, hold on a second. Like, why can't you get lending in the building? And it was because of condo delinquencies. So you're not paying your condo fee. And if it gets, so what I learned was Fannie Freddie guidelines, if you have a condo delinquency of more than 15%, meaning 15% of the units are delinquent over 60 days in paying their condo fee, they will not be able to do the loan. You would have to do a non-warrantable loan, right? So this is all news to me. I've been selling condos a long time, and I've never come into this because I don't think we've ever been in a situation where people can't pay their condo fees. But now we're in one of these, with everything that's gone over the last year and a half, people are, struggling in some places. And so I was like, holy cow, this is actually happening here. But it felt wrong to me. I felt like I know this building really well. I don't think that this is true, right? So I was dumbfounded, and I just all day yesterday in the morning, I made so many calls to try to figure this thing out. But what it came back was that it was at 19% delinquent, meaning like 35 units in the building weren't paying their fees, or they were more than 60 days late, and it was over $19,000 in delinquencies, right? So I was scrambling, and this brings up a couple of things that I think are important. Number one, this can become a problem, and thankfully it wasn't, all right? It was misinformation. Can you believe that? So what happens is in a condo, when a lender, and lenders, if you're watching this, please know that it's your job to order the condo questionnaire. Don't ask me to do it. You have to get that information directly. You're not going to take information from me about a condominium. You have to go and order that condominium information directly from them so that you can get the information that you need.
What is the condo questionnaire for maybe some people?
So the condo questionnaire is a list of about, 15 to 17 questions. And it goes into certain things like, the couple big things are there any lawsuits in the building? If there are lawsuits in the building, this can be a big problem. And if it's a big lawsuit, you're basically not going to be able to lend in the building. If it's a small frivolous lawsuit and the reserves can cover it, then you shouldn't have a problem. The one that came up yesterday was condo delinquencies, and I had never seen this before. So if your condo fee delinquencies per the people that are living there is more than 15%, it's the same thing. It's non-warrantable. They can't do a loan. So I dug and dug and dug yesterday, and I called people that I know in the building and, just got some information any way that I could. And I thought this information was wrong, and it turns out it was way wrong. Like, the only delinquency was 0.3%, not 19%.
Where did the 19% figure come from?
This is really important. Always follow up on if you suddenly get something that, hey, this has happened, make sure that you're looking at that condo questionnaire and find out who filled it out. The person that filled out the condo questionnaire filled it out incorrectly.
No.
Incorrectly. Yep. I was dumbfounded. I'm like, so if you're like me, it's impossible to get a hold of these management companies, right? So you call and you get somebody and you leave a voicemail and they'll say, oh, we'll get back to you in the next 24 to 48 hours. Well, when you're doing a deal and you're closing in a couple of days, you're not waiting 24 to 48 hours. So I literally called, and I ended up getting the girl's information that filled out the thing. And I got that from one source. And then I called the company and they're like, well, we can't even find this girl. I'm like, how can't you find her in your system, right? So this is the horrible side of management companies. They're not really good at what they do. And every single one that I've dealt with, I've had really tough times getting a hold of them. So the one guy that I talked to said, hey, listen, all of our emails are first name dot last name dot at whatever. So he's like, try that. And I did. And I also CC'd somebody else. And I said in bold, wrong information on the condo questionnaire. And she was quick to respond and saying, oops, here's the right information. I sent that directly. And I told the buyer's agent, I was like, listen, I'm almost guaranteeing you that this is incorrect. And so as soon as I got that information, I called her lender, who again didn't answer. Again, local lenders. And I sent it directly to him and to them. And the deal has been saved.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
That was a roller coaster of a story.
I mean, a roller coaster. And this is the one thing about, agents, right? People don't realize what we go through on a daily basis. I had a day planned out yesterday, and guess what? My day was totally screwed up by me having to call all these people, go through these hoops, try to figure out. I was exhausted at the end of it. And so then I had to get to all my other things that I had to do. So
where did that 19%, was that percent retail space? Was that percent?
I have no idea.
Maybe percent rented?
It was, I don't know where they screwed up on that, but it was basically 35 units is 19% of the total units. That's how many that they said were delinquent. I don't know where they got the number, but it was so wrong.
Yeah, I'm curious how they went from 19% to like 0.5% or something like that.
I don't know, but make sure that if you get some email like this about your not being able to finance in a condo, look into that condo questionnaire before you sign a release, because, we could have signed that release and just been screwed, because then no one would have been able to do business in that building, right? And my next source was going to be calling the listing agents of the ones that I've just settled and said, hey, what was your condo delinquency rate? Was it a problem? And luckily I didn't have to get to that point. We figured it out before, but it took 6 hours yesterday of digging. And so lesson learned, look at the condo delinquency rates. Hopefully you're not in a condominium that is like that. I've never seen it that high. And hopefully that's not the case, but we are in some strange times.
I haven't seen 19%. In certain pockets, in certain areas of Northern Virginia, you get lower priced condos where there's higher delinquency rates. You can't do FHA loans, you can't do this type of loans. So they're certainly out there, but for the most part, this isn't a concern that buyers need to worry about. No. However, every now and then a lawsuit will come up where, there's current pending litigation, and the only type of financing that they'll take is cash. And that happened at a condo in Roslyn in the past couple of years. I mean, at that point, then owners, they either can't put their property on the market, or they put it on the market and, they have to take a lower sale, just because that, the number of purchasers that have cash lying around for Roslyn condos, not very high.
Yeah, and you know what? The one thing I was thinking is, if you're a condo association board member or something like this, and this comes up, and you're looking at a $10,000 gap that is causing people not to be able to sell, in my opinion, you take that from reserves and you pay it off so that you're then able to sell those units. Because think about the loss of money in a broader standpoint, and maybe say, all right, we're going to pay this off, but you still owe it. You're going to owe it in the backside, but we have to get this paid off so that we're not at that high delinquency rate. Another thing that's come up in the past, and I'll be short about this, is owner occupancy rates. That used to be a big thing, owner occupancy, so investor rates in the building, if it was above like a 35% or 50%, it used to be a problem. I've learned that has kind of gone by the wayside. If you're an owner-occupant, if you're buying as an owner-occupied person in a condo, it doesn't even matter anymore. So that has to do with investor ratio compared to owner-occupant ratio.
Really?
No longer a really big factor anymore.
Huh.
So things change, guidelines change, lending changes all the time. Their rules and regulations change. So make sure that you're up on those. Call your lender that's up and up on condos. There's a lot of lenders out there that don't do a lot of condos, and I basically have to teach them their job in a lot of. You think about these people maybe in the Midwest. That's a lender in the Midwest that does homes all the time. They're not doing condos. There's not many in those areas. So, yeah.
Yeah, imagine using a lender that has never lended on a condo for a $400,000 condo purchase.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Zero experience, and
Zero
that's the
experience.
lender that you're going with.
Exactly, and that's why I say choose your lender wisely. Let them. Local lenders are everything.
And if you don't have a condo, if you live in a house, if you live in a townhouse, if you're in this area, chances are that if you go to sell, the prospective buyer of your property could be moving up from a condo, and if they have any sort of issues with lawsuits or assessments or delinquencies, and they're not able to sell, or they're only able to sell at a lower price because of an all-cash buyer, that may affect the sale on your house or townhouse. So it definitely comes full circle for the non-condo owners.
That's right.
So our second topic, Shawn, in terms of real estate agents buying leads, everyone buys buyer leads. It's really hard to buy seller leads. There's not that many people out there that are just like, yes, I would like to sell my property. I would like a bunch of real estate agents to contact me. So with that being said, there's a new service called BidMyListing, where essentially the name of the game is that owners list their properties not on the open market but on this website, and then agents bid on them to sell. So Shawn, let's say you had a house on 123 Main Street, you put it on BidMyListing. What I would tell you is, listen, I can give you $2,000 cash. I can sell it at this sales price for this commission package, and here is all my marketing. And it's basically like an RFP where you're submitting your proposal with your fees and your costs associated, and hopefully the seller will have multiple bids so that they can compare and go from there. And it's essentially a way to help sellers delineate what real estate agent is best for them. What do you think about this service?
That's a pretty good service. I have heard of this before, whether it was this particular one or a different one. It could become the norm, which is good in some regards, but I could see how it could go south too. Like, yeah, looking at somebody's commission package and what they're going to do for you, a lot of times people are just going to go with the lowest common denominator, right? But I believe that there's a big personal aspect to real estate, and dealing with people on a day-to-day basis and being comfortable with the person that you hire is a whole different aspect. So I wonder, is this something like, I guess there's a couple different situations in this where maybe you choose the top three and then you interview them? I don't know. That could be really good. But the difficult thing would be trying to figure out, all right, what do you offer, right? I can tell you what I offer every day, but in one of these, it's different, so you're kind of blinded, and I guess it's a learning curve.
Yeah, and one of the goals of this is for the agent to have some skin in the game. some detractors of realtors say, well, the agent doesn't have any skin in the game. They just want to, do this and do that. Well, if the agent has $3,000 upfront cash, skin in the game, then, maybe they're going to be more motivated to carry through with the transaction. Whether there's truth to that or not is up in the air.
Yeah, I could see that. However, I think we always have skin in the game because it's our marketing dollars that are going out. And if that listing doesn't sell, then, that money's out. And that's thousands of dollars on every listing that we're spending that we could potentially not get if that place doesn't sell. So I don't know how that's going to roll out and what the implications of that are. I mean, I could see it working in some markets, just like everything else. There's going to be people for this type of thing, and then there's going to be people that just go with who they know.
Well, how much would you pay for a buyer lead online?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's some people paying hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars per buyer lead, right?
Thousands of dollars per buyer lead?
Not thousands, but they're getting up there, right? I mean, hundreds, because you think about how many, well, it's not just one buyer lead, right? You're paying per lead, and which one of those is actually going to go. So it might be a couple $100 per lead, but the culmination of, I had 5 leads and one of those came in, what's your total cost, right? So you got to think total cost, not just lead cost, because a lot of those leads fizzle.
So the site was founded by Matt Proman.
Was this out of Pittsburgh, honestly?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. And also founded by Josh Altman, a high-end real estate agent in Los Angeles, who of course also appears on $1 Million Listing LA. And what Proman said is that sometimes for newer agents, Shawn, it's really hard to get a listing. Like if you're a brand new agent, it's really hard to get a listing. And so he's saying, well, you got to know the right people, you got to have the neighborhood experience. And he's saying, well, this would be perfect for new agents because then, they can immediately get their foot in the door of getting listings. And on the surface, that sounds great. But if you have to come up with $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 to buy this lead, a lot of new agents don't have that money, and I don't necessarily blame them.
Yeah, no, that's the whole problem with real estate is getting that new agent you have to have a lot of money in the bank to be able to fund multiple listings. And the hardest part for a new agent is being able to live, to survive, to actually make money. And most of them don't have big bank accounts where they can push a couple $1,000s out, let alone marketing dollars. But now you're competing for a listing, so that you could see could be a little difficult, right?
Well, let's reverse engineer this. Mm-hmm. In your opinion, what is the best way to get seller leads online? Let me rephrase that. What is the best way to get seller leads?
By marketing yourself in video. That's my number one lead.
Yeah. No,
I mean, it's just there is no service. There is nothing like that out there. So this is good, right? But the only other way is marketing yourself.
So what I'm getting at is if you had a $4,000 budget, would you go after one person and attack this one listing? Or would you make a $3,000 video and then spend $1,000 on distribution to thousands of people?
That's exactly the plan. I mean, that's what we've decided to do in our marketing dollars, right? Instead of paying a website or paying somebody that's now competing against us or whatever, we said, why would we do that when we can just push this marketing dollar towards ourselves with the videos? I agree 100%. I mean, paying a couple $1,000s to just get get that and then put thousands of dollars into it. And then what if it doesn't
what if they cancel the agreement?
Right. You better have
an ironclad.
Yeah, you got to have an ironclad.
Is it an escrow account? I'm sure they talk about that. But so I like the service in terms of, hey, you pay money and you get a listing or you get a lead directly. Not like this, hey, I'm thinking about selling in 6 to 12 months. Can I have a CMA report or can I have a home estimate? Like, do people still want like a free home estimate? Like, to me, that is just an invitation to be phone called by a realtor for endless days and nights and weekends and holidays. The concept of seller leads online is changing, and I think if a seller is requesting to be contacted with a proposal, I think there's something good to that. I'm just not completely sold on this service.
I think it'll take a while, and we really have to dig into it a little further to see what the ins and outs are, but it could be good. I believe that the best source of leads is by your own marketing.
Yeah, right now it's just in Southern California. Obviously, a startup. It'll be free for consumers, free for agents at first, and then after their first successful transaction, agents will be charged $99 per month. I mean, if I could get my foot in a door in like the best neighborhood in Southern California and pay a couple $1,000s and get a listing, I mean, we've seen it in all different markets. If you get that listing on the neighborhood corner where everyone sees your sign, that could open up many, many doors. So I definitely see the value here. It'll be interesting to see if it catches on in Southern California and expands elsewhere.
Absolutely. All you need is that one break, that one lead, that then, most people probably aren't going to use this service. You pay for that one, you get it, you market like crazy, you market that place, you do a successful transaction, and then those neighbors are going to start calling you, and that's the whole key.
Our third topic today comes to us from Forbes.com by Ryan Serhant. Agent in New York, has quite the social media presence, also on $1 Million Listing New York. And the article is titled, "The 3 Biggest Complaints People Have About Real Estate Agents." Wow,
really?
He narrowed it down to 3?
3?
I thought this was going to say the 30 biggest complaints. Yeah. So let's go through these top 3 complaints. I got to warn you that they're pretty broad, but okay. They are accurate.
I have not read this. Okay.
Number 1 mistake is lying. The bait and switch, the here today, gone tomorrow. You inquire about this property, it's no longer there. In a word of mouth and referral business, your reputation is everything.
Yeah.
And if you're either caught lying or accused of lying, that's certainly not going to be a good trajectory for you.
Your reputation is everything, and I've seen so many examples of the bait and switch. You like one example is a for sale by owner, and saying, "Hey, calling the for sale by, I got a buyer," and then you come in and you do a listing presentation. That's just that was an old school way of getting business, and I was never a fan of doing that. And you just open the door to just being screamed at, right?
So, I have one bait and switch personal story that I have never told before that I'll tell, and I felt terrible about it. In 2013, had this rental in South Arlington, where the rental market, it was very soft, and it was the nicest unit in the condo building, completely tricked out, completely modern, in a 1950s condo building that was not a well-run building. Wasn't getting any activity on it, so what I did was I posted a Craigslist ad and moved the marker to the middle of Clarendon, and then said, "Yes, here it is, like, convenient to Clarendon, here are the photos, no exterior photos." I get a bunch of responses immediately. I'm interested, I want to see, what building is this in? And then that's when I realized, like, I gotta tell these people. Like, I just felt terrible.
Yeah.
And I've never shared that before, but I learned my lesson, and thankfully, I don't think anyone was too pissed off. But after doing that, I the second someone responded with, "Hey, what street in Clarendon is this on?" That's when I was
oops.
like, what am I doing with my life? Like, this isn't worth it. What's going to happen? They're going to drive to South Arlington and realize that they're 20 minutes away from Clarendon?
Yep.
It's a terrible idea.
Terrible idea.
Don't do that.
Yeah, and that brings up another point. I used to frustrate me all the time is when people would put on listings, and for some reason, at this time, it was a few years ago, it's probably 5 or 6 years ago, they were putting listings on, and it was, in particular, like, let's say the Eclipse in South Arlington, right? It was showing up at the courthouse in North Arlington. So, like, anytime you would put a new listing on, for some reason, some of them were just defaulting to the courthouse, which is in North Arlington in courthouse. So naturally, my clients would be like, "Oh, let's go see this place. It's right in courthouse." And I'm like, "No, it's actually in South Arlington. It's just that the mapping is screwed up." And it drove me crazy.
Mistake number 2 is laziness. Shawn, I've heard people, buyers, go on appointments with buyer agents. They ask a few questions, and then they've realized that the buyer's agent has done no research. They know nothing about the building. They don't know where any of the amenities are. Buyer's agents sometimes get to the listing agents sometimes get to the open house, 1 minute before, coffee in hand, running late. It's certainly a problem, and it's a huge turnoff. I mean, you wouldn't want to work with a doctor who is, constantly late, or an attorney that, was lazy, and I think there is something to be said about a lot of lazy agents, unfortunately, that are in the industry.
Yeah, don't get laziness confused with busyness, if that's a word, because I've been there where I've been so busy, and what usually happens is I'm ready and ready to go out the door, and then all of a sudden you get a call, and you think it's going to be a quick call, and then you're on the phone and you're like, oh crap, I got to get my stuff. So we are constantly doing 12 things at one time, and inevitably it's going to cause you to be late. And I think maybe we got to let the phone go to voicemail at that time, and then call them back while we're on the ride or something like that. But yeah, I would be careful on laziness is one thing, and there are a lot of lazy agents. Matt and I are not those lazy agents. We're busy and we are always running. And we have time to do video shoots and this show and everything else. So we're always doing something. And it's really time management, which is difficult in real estate.
Yeah, I think the key is proactive. Find an agent that is proactive, that is eager, that is excited to help you, whether it's in your search or in the sale of your home.
Yep.
Okay, mistake number 3 is going M.I.A. And this may be the biggest one, because consumers want to hear from their real estate agent. I mean, imagine submitting an offer with your buyer's agent and then not hearing back for 3 hours. I read a really good book a few years ago by Chris Voss. It was Never Split the Difference. And this is a hostage negotiator. One of the things he said was, I will have an update for you at 6 p.m. We'll talk. And so the kidnapper knew at 6 p.m. Chris was going to call with an update, from the police. And there was no guessing game. It wasn't going to be at 5 p.m. It wasn't going to be at 7 p.m. because people are on pins and needles with these multiple offers. Oh, the deadline is this time, but then they're going to review at that time. And I think setting proper expectations and understanding the communication and patterns with your agent is crucial. And one of the biggest reasons that buyers and sellers don't like working with agents is the lack of communication and not understanding when and how communication will take place.
Yeah, that's important. And I think setting that expectation is key. When you're submitting an offer for a property, probably let them know that, hey, we probably won't have an answer until tomorrow morning. That's usually what I say. We probably won't have an answer tonight because there's multiple offers. Let's expect one tomorrow morning. And then, naturally I'm calling that agent to figure things out. But I was in one of these circumstances recently where we submitted an offer in the morning, and we didn't get an answer at all. And maybe that was partially my fault. The buyer kind of got a little heated at me because the timeline just went away. But I had reached out multiple times. I just wasn't getting any communication from the listing agent, so it's not always my fault.
So when you weren't getting communication from the listing agent, were you telling your buyer, I reached out and I'm not getting communication?
I did, and but that wasn't enough. It might have been at 2:30 and the timeline was at 5, but they wanted more communication. So sometimes buyers are different, right? And every buyer is going to be different on what they want and what they expect, and what we're used to and what we expect. And sometimes I communication is key, and so I'll take responsibility for that.
Yeah, and sometimes what I'll tell buyers is, hey, we just submitted the offer. I'll let you know, and I'll let you know as soon as possible. But as soon as possible can mean a myriad of different things to different people. So, hey, we just submitted the offer. We're probably going to hear back tomorrow morning. Or, hey, we just submitted an offer. I will let you know by 9 p.m. or and that we'll communicate at 9 p.m. And if we don't have an answer by then it'll bleed into the morning. And one of the best updates you can give to a buyer or a seller is no update at all. Like, hey, I'm just checking in. Just want to let you know I still haven't heard back. This is neither good nor bad news, but I'll be in touch later at this time with another update for you.
Yeah, Matt, you're so smooth. No, it's true. I mean, communication is key, like we always say. It's tough though when you're running and you're busy and you have 9 things going on at once. It's tough to keep it all straight, but it's I guess a good problem to have, and we've got to be square. And clients of mine used to say that, oh, I felt like I was Shawn's only client, and that's the way I love to feel. Even though I have multiple clients, I always liked them to feel like they were being treated like my only one.
That's a really good feeling for a consumer to have. Ryan Serhant goes on to say that a good part of being an agent is being available, reliable, and responsible throughout the entire process. You know, if you're not getting back to your client in a timely fashion, that's going to be extremely frustrating on the client side.
Yep.
So certainly being available, reliable, and responsible.
That's it, my friend.
Cool. Well, there it is, another episode of the Shawn and Matt Show. You know, I'm looking at our audio mixer, and I'm pretty sure the audio went out after about 5 minutes.
Oh, no.
So we're going to use one of the in-camera audios. I think we're coming up on 30 minutes, so we'll see if the big camera is still activating or it dies after 30 minutes. Maybe we'll use the iPad video, the phone audio.
We'll figure it out.
Either way, we get it done.
That's right.
We get it done. So, Shawn, you're up to how many subscribers on YouTube? 458?
458. Started from 0 about a year and a half ago, maybe?
Yeah.
2 years? Not
But Shawn's not a big, I have this many subscribers type of guy. He's a big, I'm going to put in the work and what happens, happens type of guy.
Yeah, and I don't promote that page. I just, it's Matt and I working together, doing content, us doing videos for our listings, putting the content out there. And if you have good content, people start following. And I think that's the key. And thank you, my friend.
Yeah, man. Well, again, happy birthday to Shawn. Thank you so much for watching. Definitely hit the thumbs up button if you like this content. Definitely subscribe so we can get Shawn to 500 subscribers. And until next time, we'll see you then.
Take care.